I think everyone's got one of those movies or video games or albums where they both love it and hate it for completely different reasons. And today is one of those movies. I love it, but there's so much stuff about it that I don't love. Today's movie is Wreck-It Ralph. The more I watch this movie and the more I think about it, the more I realize I don't like it too much. But I still really enjoy it for a lot of other things. And if you don't know the story, here it is.
For decades, Ralph has played a bad guy in this popular video game. In a bold move, he embarks on an action-packed adventure.
I'm not reading the back of the box.
Anything to declare?
I hate you.
I get that a lot.
So this guy named Ralph has been a video game villain for about 30 years in the game called Fix-It Felix Jr. And he's tired and sick of always being the villain, and he wants to be the good guy. And the way to be a good guy and get accepted by the characters in this game is to win a medal. So Ralph goes to a different game called Hero's Duty to get a medal. He wins it, but in the process, in a series of events, he loses it and has to team up with a little girl named Vanellope in a kart racing game called Sugar Rush. Let me start with the good about this movie. It is one of the most creative movies I have seen in a long time. The world they create, Game Central Station, where all the video games from the arcade come around and they all meet up. You got like you got some basketball players here. You've got Chun-Li and Cammy from Street Fighter. Sonic the Hedgehog's running around, and everything's really creative. The Nicelanders, who are basically the AI NPC characters in Wreck-It Ralph, Fix-It Felix, sorry. They move in a very jerky, pixelated way, even though they're full flushed out 3D characters. Hero's Duty is a first-person shooter, and the character model for the first-person shooter is a pair of very realistic-looking gauntlets with hands on it, and then it's just a monitor on a track that bobs up and down, like a first-person shooter. When you're playing a shooter, all you see is just this, you know? For all you know, you are just a big computer screen. And it's a little touches like that that are probably my favorite part of the movie. All the references to video games, little Easter eggs, to unlock a safe at one point. One of the characters uses the Konami code, you know, up, down, left, right, BA, start. It's very enjoyable, very creative, especially if you're a fan of video games, you know? It's really cool to see all the characters interacting. I think the best scene in the movie is literally the opening scene, where Ralph is at a villains meetup, basically. It's a bunch of villains from games, and they're all in a room talking about being villains and how it's hard. It's kind of like Alcoholics Anonymous, I guess. It's really, really cool, because you've got Dr. Eggman, Bowser, Smoke, Kano, M. Bison, Zangief, Clyde, and all these other villains from all these video games all put together in one room just talking. And it's stuff like that. There's a scene in Tappers, and Ralph goes there to talk to people. In the background, you can see Ryu having a beer. To someone who has no idea what video games are, just go see the movie, just, oh, there's a ninja in the background. But for me, it's like, holy shit, that's Ryu from Street Fighter, that's awesome! The first third of the movie has so many of these little references. It's great. There's graffiti everywhere that say stuff like Leroy Jenkins and Aerith lives. The attention to detail is amazing in this movie. You can tell that the people who designed everything about it, the visual aspects, put their heart and soul into it. Which I can't necessarily say for the characters so much.
Didn't hear you. Your breath is so bad it made my ears numb.
Ralph is a bit of a whiner. I understand that, you know, everyone hates you for you doing your job for 30 years and you want to change that. He says, why can't I have what I want? I want this, I want that. And he whines a lot. And it's the same with Vanellope, the girl from Sugar Rush. And she can be really annoying sometimes.
Hey, why are your hands so freakishly big?
I don't know. Why are you so freakishly annoying?
She's played by Sarah Silverman, and that comes across a lot in her performance. And I'm not a big fan of Sarah Silverman, so... I mean, she's got some good lines. Everyone got some good lines, but she just gets kind of annoying. The other two big characters in the movie are Fix-It Felix Jr. and Sergeant Calhoun. They are much better, especially Fix-It Felix Jr. because he doesn't hate Ralph. Everyone else in Fix-It Felix hates Ralph. Felix himself does not. He understands Ralph's there, and they have to work together by fighting, I guess. to keep the game going. You know, one can't exist without the other. Felix doesn't like Ralph in the beginning, but he understands they gotta work together. He's not saying, no, get the fuck out of here. You're not allowed in our big party where Pac-Man's all here doing drugs and Sonic's in the corner betting rings on... He's playing strip poker with like Princess Peach and shit. That'd be an interesting scene. I actually really like Felix. He's very genuine, very heartfelt, really clean and uptight. Like, he's probably my favorite character in the movie. Sergeant Calhoun is like the female Sergeant Johnson from Halo.
Well, I don't care if it's God's own anti-son of a bitch machine or a giant hula hoop. We're not gonna let them have it. What we will let them have is a belly full of lead and a pool of their own blood to drown in.
Lots of like one-liners and basically calling all the soldiers or ladies and stuff.
You want to go pee-pee in your big boy slacks? Keep it to yourself. It's make your mama's proud time.
I love my mama.
And she's pretty fun, especially when she plays off Felix, who they have scenes together, but they're really not in the movie that much. And they should be a lot more, I think.
All right, ladies, the kitten whispers and tickle fight stop now.
One thing that needs to be addressed is the bad guys, the villains from Heroes Duty. They're these big insect beetle robot things called cybugs. And, you know, it's a cool design for a villain. What they eat, they become. So, you know, like, if they eat a gun, they get Gatling guns for arms. That's cool. You know, I'm cool with that. But they aren't aware that they're in a video game. And every single other thing in the entire movie is aware. What? I understand it's supposed to be mindless, flesh-hungry killing machines. But how are they not aware that they're video game characters? They never really explain it. They just say they aren't aware they're in a video game. And that's the explanation. We're supposed to go with it. And a Cybug at one point gets out of Heroes Duty, gets into Sugar Rush, and multiplies, and that becomes a big part later in the movie. It doesn't make much sense. I can't get over how they don't realize they're in a video game. I mean, I think Calhoun sort of explained it like they're a virus, they just spread, but viruses are bad things to the video game itself, the hardware. Like, if your video game has a virus in it, your video game's broken. Heroes Duty's not broken. I'd play Heroes Duty. I'd actually probably play all these games. Fix-It Felix, Sugar Rush, Heroes Duty. They all look like fun. They actually made some Fix-It Felix Jr. arcade cabinets. I digress. The Cybugs just... I understand they're there to make a big conflict and for a reason to Calhoun to go and search for Ralph, because he's the one that let it out of the game. So Calhoun and Felix go on a search for Ralph inside Sugar Rush.
When these video games become so violent, scary.
One thing that bugs me about this movie as well is all the product placement. And I understand why a lot of it's there. I mean, Bowser, Dr. Eggman, Sonic, Pac-Man. I mean, they're products, you know. It's like Toy Story. You have Mr. Potato Head and Slinky Dog and all the other real toys, but your main characters are Buzz and Woody. And here, it's Ralph and Vanellope in games that didn't exist before this. I think one of the big things is no one was sure how this movie was going to play out. They didn't know if it was going to be an absolute flop, which it wasn't. It sold very, very well. I can definitely see someone like Nintendo saying, we don't know if this is going to go anywhere. We're not going to put Mario in this. I mean, no, you can have a cameo. Bowser's here. He's not going to be a main character. And it's probably the same thing with all the other companies, Sega and Capcom. I mean, you know, Sonic's in there and guys from Street Fighter. But the only licensed video game character that seems to have any bearing on the plot whatsoever is Q*bert, who tells Felix that Ralph has gone to Heroes Duty.
My Q*bertese is a little rusty.
But aside from Q*bert, I can't think of any other pre-existing video game characters that really affect the movie. Basically, they all could have been made-up video games, and it wouldn't really have mattered. But I understand licensed video game characters being in a video game movie. I completely get that, you know. What gets me is the amount of candy product placements. Pretty much after the first third, maybe the first half of the movie, the entire film takes place in Sugar Rush, pretty much. And there is so many candy references, and a lot of them can actually be pretty funny. Like, there are some donut cops, and one of the cops is called Duncan, and he's a donut. That's actually pretty funny. There's a quicksand pit, and it's Nest Quicksand. And they have, like, the logo on a sign, product placement. And there's Laffy Taffy vines, and Oreo guards that specifically say Oreo on them. And one of the weirdest ones was at one point, in the actual arcade itself, there's this girl wanting to play Sugar Rush, and she, like, puts down her quarters, like, I got next game, and these two guys are playing, and right in the middle of the shot is a cup from Subway. What does Subway have to do with any of this? It's Subway! They make sandwiches! They don't make Street Fighter!
What a ripoff.
Alright, a bit of a spoiler warning here. Gonna talk about some stuff that might spoil the movie a bit. I don't know. If you don't want to see this, go ahead to this point right here. So Vanellope is a glitch, and actually that's not really a spoiler. That's discussed when she pretty much first shows up. And to basically not become a glitch, she has to win a race. What? That doesn't make like any sense to me. I don't remember them explaining that at all in the movie. It's if she crosses that finish line, everything will be restored. It just seems kind of odd and an arbitrary way to fix everything in the end. You know, simple thing happens, everyone's okay with it.
Are you a hobo?
No, I'm not a hobo.
So, pretty much all I've done for this review is briefly talk about what I like, and extensively talk about what I don't like. So what do I think of Wreck-It Ralph? It's pretty good. If you're going into this movie expecting it to be all about video games, you're probably going to be kind of disappointed after the first half of the movie. It kind of just goes off on its own thing for a while, which isn't bad, it's just not very video gamey. The first third of the movie is filled with tons of excellent video game references to games that weren't even in the movie sometimes, like Tomb Raider and Final Fantasy.
I'm just a surge protector doing my job, sir. Name?
Lara Croft.
The movie looks great, it sounds great, it's got a great sense of humor, it sets up this amazing world that it creates for itself in Game Central Station. So despite my bitching, I'm still glad I saw it, and I do still enjoy it. And you might too.